Thank you, sir. You know, this new income-driven repayment program would cost approximately $70 billion over 10 years. Of course, I realize that Democrats now spend trillions like it's change in their pockets that they found on the street. So what's $70 billion? My question is, because cost should always be a consideration, is there any limit to what Democrats think we should spend or we can spend? Is there any limit? Do they really believe that spending, deficits, and debt doesn't matter with $31 trillion in national debt? Is there any limit? Kind of like the border invasion. Is there any limit to how many illegals we should let stream across our border? Is there any limit to how much we should spend when we're already bankrupt as a country? Depending on future details of the IDR program, it could add another $450 billion or more. Now we're starting to almost talk about real money here. Plus, the cost of the changes to the public service loan forgiveness could reach nearly $60 billion, depending on the increased participation in the program. And President Biden's waivers for public service loan forgiveness and IDR could result in as much as $145 billion and $211 billion. Together, that's what, $356 billion, being transferred from college graduates to hardworking taxpayers. Recent analysis by scholars at my district's University of Virginia found that these waivers made as many as 3.5 million borrowers immediately eligible for the $145 billion in the PSLF. Under current law, even Planned Parenthood employees could be eligible for the public service loan forgiveness, but I guess that's a big bonus to Democrats. But all of this is on top of the nearly $1 trillion in debt that they're already trying to transfer from borrowers to hardworking non-borrower taxpayers with the student loan transfer scheme. Of course, I do believe this is backfiring in a big way with the public who knows it's immoral, recognizes it's unconstitutional, knows it's illegal for the president to try to act alone on this basis. But this, taken together, is just one more example of why the federal government should not be involved in education. Somebody tell me the constitutional basis for the federal government to be involved in education. And if you thought there was some reason to give leeway there, you ought to recognize that they violated any trust we might have had in them, in the federal government, with how we treated children and students over these last 2 years with the China virus situation. We put children last in what we did these last 2 years. We've done irreparable harm from this federal government to children these last 2 years. They will never recover from the 2 years of lost learning. They will never recover from the emotional, mental, and social harm that was done to them as we put the fear of them that they were going to die from a virus they were never at risk of, and we stuck masks on them for 2 years, and now we're trying to force vaccinations on children. That's a violation of the trust placed by the taxpayers in their government, and the federal government has forfeited any right that they didn't have to begin with to be involved in education. But all this together is why we need this oversight, and we need this information to hold this administration accountable for the harmful decisions they are making for our children and for our country. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.